Good evening, everyone. And I pray all is well. If this shows up on your For You page, this is definitely for you. I didn't put any hashtags on it. And I prayed and fasted over this video and hoped that it will find the right people at the right time, especially those of us that are chosen, that are going through trials and tribulations at the moment. Let's start by saying this. At the age of 17, when I applied for federal student aid, I was already told, that, I was so-called, adopted, and, my biological mom was on drugs and she couldn't take care of me. So, at that point, it caused a rift, between me and the family that raised me, along with the woman that raised me as well. I asked her, was there anything else, that was being hidden from me, in regards to my past? She said no. The reason I even found this information out was mainly because, I applied for federal student aid, to go off to college, at 17. The application came back, rejected, and it stated that my name and social and birth certificate didn't match anything in their system. This happened on 2 occasions. The second occasion, when I went back to the office after the first time, that rejection happened, I'm thinking like, hey, I've only been me my whole life. I mean, who the hell are these people, respectfully? So, me and the guidance counselors, man, we went over the information, we resubmitted the documents, and made sure there was no discrepancies on it. And, we took it from there. Not thinking anything of it. A couple weeks passed. I get another email back stating the same exact thing. So, I'm asking my mom, the woman I thought to be my mom at that time. I'm asking her, hey, is everything okay? What's going on? Because I was told to go home at that point, by the guidance counselors to have a conversation, with my parents. And that's when they pretty much broke the news, that I was, so-called adopted. We're going to say so-called. This is where it gets interesting. So fast forward from 2006 to like 2020. There was another incident where, I was speaking to the man that was on my birth certificate, who was put down as my father. He pretty much stated, after I've asked him several times, that, hey, we've already told you everything, there's nothing else to tell you. Just to fast forward another 2 years to a woman calling me around 7:30 in the morning, between 7 and 7:30 a.m. in the morning. I'm frantic and, crying and asking me, is your mother's name, Carolyn Brown? And, I answer naturally. I'm like, yeah, but who wants to know? Why are you asking me these questions? She tells me that she's my biological sister. At that point, my world just shattered. I didn't know how to take it, especially when she revealed the part that I was actually kidnapped and abducted. So, after the fact, my sister explains to me that, I've been abducted. At that point, there's just so many questions, because, the man, that I've known to be, that I've known from the point I was 17, was my father on my birth certificate. In actuality, this man was my uncle. So, I'm sitting here and I'm asking all of these questions, and I'm really not getting any answers at this point, because everybody in the family that raised me, everybody's avoiding me. Nobody is telling the truth when they do speak to me, and they try to beat around the bush. And I can't, get any details out of my biological mother because, she's deceased. So, from the time I was 17, I always prayed to God and asked God to keep my mother in good health and to keep her here, just so I could at least spend one holiday with her, or, at least get to know her some, before he takes her. I had weird dreams even, previous to that point, that my mom wasn't going to be here. And fast forward, I ran into a prophet, from a church, and, they told me back in 2021 that, hey, I don't think that's going to be in the cards. And, I'm like, what do you mean? He tells me, his name is Leo. He tells me at this point, it's not in the cards. He said, at this point, man, I can only tell you, what I can tell you. But he said, man, brace for impact at this point. you're going to find your biological family, but unfortunately your mom is not going to be in that package deal. So, you know, I break down in tears from that point. And, you know, just having this in my memory, and, you know, to hear my biological sister tell me that, you know, that our mom is dead, you know, I'm not going to get a lot of answers that I was seeking. But, you know, she pretty much told me that each and every year, you know, around my birthday and on all holidays, you know, she lit a candle for me, man, and she, you know, she prayed to God, you know, that I'll be safe and in good health. Weirdly, the woman that she had actually left me with, you know, it turns out that they were actually friends. You know, it said that, and this is what said, you know, on my biological family side, that, you know, they left me with a babysitter, which is known as my mom's friend. And from there, when they came back to get me, this babysitter was gone. She vanished in the wind. That's what was said. So, once she drops this bomb on me, you know, about me being kidnapped, you know, at this point, I'm speechless. And then for her to open up FaceTime, you know, with my older sister, you know, Courtney, and look her in the face for the first time and realize, man, I've seen this girl multiple times in Brooklyn, especially at the park. You know, I used to play basketball at one point. I mean, it like the level of hurt, man, I don't even think I could even explain it. You know, when you realize, man, you've been robbed of everything, you know, you're currently carrying around, you know, the last name of a family that pretty much took you from your biological family and kept you away throughout the course of time. I mean, there's no real words to help you really, you know, recover from it. Only thing you have at that point to go to is God, you know, and the therapist if it applies. So, you know, it was a tough pill to swallow. So, you know, after my sister Alicia pretty much drops this bomb on me, you know, that, hey, you know, you were kidnapped, I kind of froze. And, you know, especially, man, that's not something that you want to hear, man, waking up, you know, between that 7 or 7:30 a.m. in the morning time frame. You know, after I got off the phone with her, you know, I couldn't help but do anything but cry, because it's like when you sit here and you actually look at everything and you start thinking about everything as a whole, you realize that a lot of the stuff, man, you know, that you went through, it didn't even have to be this way. Especially when all the other kids, man, you know, that were raised with my mom. It turns out I got 7 brothers and sisters, you know, outside of myself. I'm like the second oldest. So it's like, you know, everybody turned out fine, you know, despite, you know, the family that raised me, you know, or that abducted me, you know, stating how she was on drugs and she was pretty much the worst thing in the world. You know, if you look at everybody, man, that my mother raised, you know, outside of me, everybody turned out fine. Nobody's been arrested. Nobody's on drugs. Everybody is working. Everybody's successful or in school. So, you know, it was a tough pill. It was a tough pill to swallow. Especially realizing, you know, that you seen, you know, one of your younger sisters, you know, growing up, you know, at a park you used to go to, you know, with a lot of your friends, you know, back in high school. I've seen this girl multiple times. We looked each other in the face. And, you know, it was the weirdest thing for us to open up FaceTime, you know, for the first time to see each other. And the first thing we say is, yo, I've seen you before. And, you know, it turns out that they literally lived in my backyard the entire time. They were maybe only 2 or 3 miles away. So, you know, I say this, you know, to the person, man, that's going through anything similar, man, that feels like they've had their identity and everything that belongs to them, you know, stripped from them. I strongly suggest, man, that, you know, if you haven't already, that you lean into God and, you know, you start praying and fasting, you know, for the healing, you know, and the deliverance, man, from the rejection and, you know, the spirit of abandonment. I mean, it's pretty prevalent dealing with these type of scenarios, especially, man, you know, if you're in my situation and, you know, you were held by a family all of those years, you know, growing up, and you went through some incidents of abuse, neglect, and, you know, and vice versa, man. You had to sit here and watch, you know, people that you grew up with, you know, get killed, you know, repeatedly over the course of time growing up. And then you realize, you know, you didn't even have to go through all of this stuff had you been with your biological family. You know, as I stated before, I strongly suggest you, you know, lean into God and start fasting and praying just as I did. I mean, it may not sound like as much. It may sound cliche, you know, at the moment, but trust and believe when I tell you, man, it actually does help. You know, this is not, you know, an overnight process for you to, you know, to be healed, especially, man, if there's a piece of you, you know, that's been taken from you, you know, that you're never going to get back. That's only, you know, a void that only God can heal. So, you know, I hope somebody, man, that's listening, you know, and the viewers, you know, that you take it into consideration. If you're dealing with anything of this nature, lean into God. And when you lean into God, man, you hold on to him for dear life. Because trust me when I tell you, it's going to take some time. But the overall key to it is, you know, that you don't quit and you don't give up. So my name is Reese, you know, and I hope this helps. So on this healing journey, you know, the best advice I can give, you know, is just to focus on Matthew 6:33. You know, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you. That scripture alone to meditate on, man, it's helped me so much. The key is, man, it's not to dwell on the past, because, you know, if you continue to dwell on the things that you lack, or the, you know, the things that were done to you, the only thing it's going to do is continue to eat you alive. And, you know, and bad enough, there's a piece of you that's already missing that, you know, you're not going to get back due to the nature of what was taken from you. Only thing it's going to do is open up the doorway for demons to come in, and you're going to house anger and bitterness, and God knows whatever else, you know, enters with it. I mean, it clearly states that, you know, when spirits come in, they don't just come by themselves. They're going to bring, you know, others right behind them as the door is open. It's never just that one that enters. So, you know, that's just something for, you know, you guys as the viewers to keep in mind. Like I said, I didn't put any hashtags on these videos or any trending sounds. And I've prayed and fasted, you know, prior to that this video will help and find the right person at the right time. You know, don't give up. You know, your breakthrough is right around the corner. Continue to press through. I know it's difficult at the time. And sometimes, you know, we get to the point where we can't see the light at the end of that tunnel. But, you know, if you press forward, man, and you lean into God, I promise in the end, it'll all be worth it. It'll be, you know, as if, you know, you went through that fire, just like in the book of Daniel, and you won't even feel it, or you won't even smell like the smoke from the fire that you went through. So, thank you, and God bless.